Three heads, old yang. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Three heads, old yang. Three tails, old yin. 3 heads, old yang. I feel like I'm playing tic-tac-toe. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Getting our trigrams and hexagrams from the I-ming, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future by Hilary Barrett. Our bottom trigram will be read as solid, solid, solid. Which is Qian, heaven. Qian is heaven. Qian is superhuman cosmic law. Enduring, he determines the nature and development of all things, from the movement of the stars to the cycle of the seasons, to causing each individual seed to grow into its own kind of plant. Heaven is creativity in its pure form, the force that drives change and what endures within it. He confronts us with truth and what it demands, both as the absolute law of nature and as the challenge of individual calling experienced as an inner law. He is both the awareness of what to do and how to be, and also the power to act on it. Heaven is Father, found in the northwest, the realm between autumn and winter, when the buds set and the seeds fall to earth. The top trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, solid, broken. This is Kan, water. Kan is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, which is fire and light, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure, and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. Kan, water, above Qian, heaven, gives us the hexagram. No, Kan, did I say Kan? Kan, water, above Qian, heaven. Is 5, hexagram 5. Once our changing lines change, our bottom trigram or inner trigram will be read as open, whole, open, or broken, solid, broken, which is again Kan. And then our top or outer trigram will be read as solid, broken, broken. Which is Zen, thunder. Thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. In old Chinese belief, thunder slept in the earth over winter and erupted from it in spring, awakening living things into new growth. Thunder is our basic drive for renewal. He inspires initiative and decisive action. He is the stimulus that sets things in motion. He is the eldest son in the Trigram family, the first connection of heaven, potential, with earth, realization. Yang makes itself known here, emerging into the field and beginning to grow. Thunder belongs to the east and to spring. Zen thunder above Kan water gives us the hexagram. 40. To get the titles of each of our hexagrams, we'll be using the Taoist I Ching by I-ming. He wrote this in 1796 as a Taoist adept. Thomas Cleary has translated it. Hexagram 5, I-ming renders as waiting. Waiting for the proper timing and gathering primal energy, gradually restoring the primordial in the midst of the temporal. Hexagram 40, I-ming calls liberation. Taking advantage of the appropriate time to liberate positive primordial energy from the influence of negative conditioned energy. We will start by reading Hilary Barrett and her I Ching commentary, which is the most basic, almost like a beginner's commentary for the I Ching. Hexagram 5, Hilary Barrett calls waiting. Key questions. How can you wait patiently and with commitment? While you wait, how can you best make yourself ready? Oracle. Waiting with truth and confidence. Shining out. Creating success. Constancy brings good fortune. Fruitful to cross the great river. You wait for what you need, like a farmer waiting for the weather to change. This is not a passive state. You can dance for rain, influence events by bringing yourself into harmony with the outcome you need, but you cannot force this. You can only attend to it. You will need patience. It may all take much longer than you had imagined. When you are fully present in waiting, your intense attention shines out like a beacon, beginning a creative engagement with the world. Not by working on anything, but by waiting on it and holding your faith. And in crossing the river, committing yourself to go as far as you can towards what you're waiting for, you begin the transition into the world where it is real. Image. The clouds are above heaven, waiting. A noble one eats, drinks, and relaxes with music. Sitting around the table, being jolly. A noble one doesn't hover anxiously in the doorway watching the skies. Instead, with sureness and constancy in his heart and fluidity in his actions, he thrives in the present moment. Fasting when you can't cultivate your fields shows confidence, and it keeps you rested and prepared for the moment when you can act. In ancient China, where the ancestral spirits help to bring better weather, you can invite them to share your meals, revitalizing your relationship with what provides for you. Sequence. Waiting follows from hexagram 4, not knowing. Young things cannot do without nourishment, and so waiting follows. Waiting means the way of eating and drinking. Naturally, young things don't spring instantly into a state of full growth, and nor does wisdom or knowing. They must be nourished patiently over time. Pair. Waiting forms a pair with hexagram 6, arguing. Waiting means no progress. Arguing means no connection. Lacking what you need, you could challenge the injustice and argue your case, or wait and have faith. Though you're not moving forward, you might be inviting help and connection. Tiger's eye serpent. I found this by a river. Great blue heron feather. I was given this through two magical women at least. An owl feather. I was able to see a great horned owl in the wild that was dying from rat poison, which sucked, but I was able to pet it before it died. Anyway, hexagram 40, our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. 40 is called release. Key questions. If nothing could bind you, where would you go? Do you have to? Who says? Which path leads to where you want to be? Oracle. Release. Fruitful in the southwest, with no place to go. To turn round and come back is good fortune. With a direction to go, daybreak, good fortune. To release is to liberate, to solve problems, to untie knots. The first step towards release is a move southwest. No longer battling on to pursue the mission, but going back to your roots and reconnecting with home and allies. When you know where you're coming from, it becomes a lot easier to be clear about where you're going. If your path has no real destination, turn back. If it has purpose, start your journey as early as you can. If you have no good reason to continue on as before, come back to your starting point and let that cycle reach its end. If you have a goal in mind, why not start exploring ways to attain it right away? This would be such simple advice if only we didn't spend our lives being pulled down paths that lead nowhere, as if by invisible strings. Image. Thunder and rain do their work. Release. A noble one pardons transgressors and forgives crimes. Imagine the air after a thunderstorm, clean, clear, all the tension released. Humans do the work of thunder and rain through forgiveness. Just as in the trigrams, thunder comes forth from an inner trigram, representing rain and flowing water, so action can spring from fluidity rather than from a rigid stance. Think of a master of Tai Chi in motion, or a springing cat. Forgiveness frees us from the bonds of inevitability. A line crossed need not mean there must be retribution. Punishment doesn't have to follow from crime. It's rare that we're truly forced to respond in a certain way or obliged to make up for our own past mistakes or omissions. Sequence. Release follows from hexagram 39, limping. Things cannot end with hardship, and so release follows. Release means letting things take their time. There comes a time when there has been enough struggle, Release means ending the battle with the world and starting to reconnect with its natural flow. We will be reading Changing Lines 1, 3, and 4 and 5. Each of these have their own general contexts. They are the most focused part of the reading. They put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements. Changing line 1 has the general context inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Line 3, an emerging identity facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. 4 is the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. And 5 is strength and self-determination, clear vision, being in command. They may not all agree with one another, and if that is the case, we're to gnaw on that ourselves. The question we bring to the I Ching when we consult the oracle will always have the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time. Our changing lines are the most focused part of the answer to that question. Changing line 1, waiting at the outskirts altar, fruitful to use perseverance, no mistake. Outside the town walls is a simple altar mound where people gather to make offerings for a good harvest. You need these wider spaces with longer views. Don't rush to the center of the action to take the initiative or focus exclusively on a single issue. Only by seeing your desire as a small part of the larger landscape can you see the potential for it to be realized. Even when nothing works and you start to think of giving up, don't lose sight of this potential. Always act in a way that invites the possibility nearer. Always hold it in connection with that larger reality. Be utterly consistent. Changing line 3, waiting in the bog invites the arrival of robbers. A bog is not a healthy place to wait, and yet your wagon is sinking in up to its axles while you wait to get the measure of things. Perhaps you feel that you must have it all under control, especially your expectations, for fear of further suffering. Yet sitting here makes you vulnerable to unscrupulous people who take advantage of your inability to move and to your own lesser self. When you don't expect to make progress, negativity arises. Impatience, guilt, and the creeping loss of hope, and arguments about how things should be done. Changing line 4, waiting in blood, come out of the pit. You may need to wait, but you do not need to wait here, in this cramped pit of dark emotions where hope and vitality drain away through many wounds. The longer you live here, the more you feel helpless to change anything. You start to forget the world beyond the pit. You may imagine you are proving something by never abandoning your post, no matter how much you and others bleed. Do whatever it takes to change your state. Let yourself be guided out of your pit. Don't allow the painful experience to define you. How could you see anything in its true perspective from the bottom of a hole? Changing line 5. Waiting with food and drink, constancy, good fortune. It all takes much longer than you imagined, and you're not in a position to dictate a faster pace. Sometimes the best way to be true to your vision is simply to rest and recuperate for the journey. That means taking pleasure in this moment and not postponing your happiness. Make the investment to replenish relationships, create opportunities for freer, more harmonious communication. When you are well nourished, you can wait without tiring. You can be constant, which brings good fortune. We'll now read from James Dekorne. I've linked his website in the description box below. He is a practitioner of the Tao himself, and he also has synthesized several different I-ming commentaries and provided his own editor's notes, which are often lucid and profound and helpful. Some of the quotes he uses are from things such as the Kabbalah. Waiting, our primary hexagram, 444 AM for me. Waiting, other titles: nourishment, calculated inaction, attending, biding one's time, nourishment through inaction, waiting for nourishment, moistened, and a quote from D.F. Hook, waiting with the assurance that a blessing will come, judgment, leg. Waiting intimates that with sincerity and firmness, there will be brilliant success and good fortune. It will be advantageous to cross the great stream. Blowfold, calculated inaction, or exhibiting the power to wait, and the confidence of others win brilliant success. Righteous persistence brings good fortune. It will be advantageous to cross the great river or sea. The significance of this hexagram is that inaction while awaiting the outcome of events will enable us to avoid a danger now threatening. Firmness, clarity of mind, and success in winning the confidence of others are now demanded of us. With them, our undertakings will prosper. Moreover, this period of inaction is a good time in which to go on a journey, or else for relaxation and enjoyment. Lu, waiting. If you are sincere, you will have glory, light, and success. Continuing leads to good fortune. It is of benefit to cross the great water, to travel to remote places. Ritzema/Karcher, attending, possessing conformity, shining, growing, trial, significant, harvesting, wading the great river. Editor, possessing conformity is translated as inner and outer are in accord. Confidence of the spirits has been captured. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of being compelled to wait for and serve something. It emphasizes that fixing your attention on what is required while waiting carefully for the right moment to act is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time you are told to attend. The image of leg, the image of clouds ascending over the sky forms waiting. The superior man, in accordance with this, eats and drinks, feasts and enjoys himself as if there were nothing else to employ him. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. Waiting shows peril in front, but its subject does not allow himself to be involved in the dangerous defile. The success in sincerity and good fortune and firmness are shown by the position of the fifth line, which is correctly situated in the central place assigned by heaven. Crossing the great stream will be followed by meritorious achievement. Leg. Waiting is composed of the lower trigram of strength, and the upper trigram of peril. Strength confronted by peril might be expected to advance boldly and deal with it at once, but the lesson of the hexagram is that it is wiser to wait until success is sure. In the situation at hand, firm correctness is all that is required for eventual victory. Crossing the great stream is a frequent expression in the I Ching, which symbolizes the undertaking of hazardous enterprises or encountering great difficulties. Historically, it refers to the Yellow River, which the lords of Chao had to cross in their revolution against the Yin dynasty tyrants. The crossing made by King Wu in 1122 BC was one of the greatest deeds in the history of China and was preceded by a long period of waiting until success could be assured. Regarding the image, it is said that the cloud that has risen to the top of the sky has nothing to do but wait until the harmony of heaven and earth require it to discharge its store of rain. The superior man is likewise counseled to enjoy his idle time while waiting for the correct moment to deal with the approaching danger. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Strength in the face of danger here consists of the will to sit tight and do nothing. The superior man carries on as if nothing was the matter and nourishes himself through inaction. There are many kinds of courage. Perhaps the greatest of all is the courage to remain unflinchingly in place when all the circumstances seem to cry out for action. It takes far more courage to wait for the dragon to slowly come to you than to rush forth and attack him in his lair. As a strategy, to outweight your opponent through pure willpower and inner strength can be more effective than a direct attack. But it can only succeed when you are truly strong. It is as if the real battle takes place on the inner planes, and the first one to act in the world thereby concedes defeat. A very large part of the work consists in disciplining oneself to wait, to take no action until some indefinite time in the future. This is exceedingly difficult to do and creates incredible stresses within the psyche, which is exactly why it is necessary. Psychologically, to cross the great stream is to subdue all of the autonomous instincts, drives, and emotions that are accustomed to responding whenever they are stimulated. As long as waiting creates feelings of stress, you can be sure the battle has not been won. When you can wait like the superior man, as if there were nothing else to do, then you can allow yourself to hope that you may be getting somewhere. To nourish oneself through inaction is to digest and absorb the energy of one's instinctive responses. As in any nourishing assimilation, their strength then becomes your strength. The true adept is one who has digested all of his passion and is thereby empowered to use it for his own purposes. Instead of engaging in civil war, he has united his forces to act in the world. Quote from ZBS, Halevi in Kabbalah and Exodus. Tradition says that Moses did not set the tabernacle up straight away, but delayed for 3 months, despite the fact that the people wanted to dedicate it at once. In this is repeated a lesson of patience concerning matters of the spirit. For instead of accepting their teacher's word, which conveyed the will of God, the Israelites sought to impose their own will over what they had made. This phenomenon is not unknown among those who cannot wait, which is a vital part of esoteric training. Unfortunately, it has to be demonstrated over and over again that the timing of a spiritual event is contingent upon a cosmic schedule and not the will of the individual. Our supporting hexagram 40, Liberation, puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Liberation, other titles might be deliverance, the symbol of loosening, release, eliminating obstacles, taking apart, untangled, solution, dissolution, relief, unloose, release of tension, judgment, leg. Liberation finds advantage in the southwest. When the operation is completed, a return to stability brings good fortune. If operations are incomplete, it is best to finish them quickly. Blowfold, release. The west and south are favorable. Those with nothing to gain from going forward will find good fortune by turning back. Those who do have much to gain from going forward must hasten to be sure of doing well. This is not a time to stay where we are. If we have no good reason to advance, it is best to retreat. Ritsima/Karcher, taking apart, harvesting, western south, without a place to go, one's coming return significant, possessing directed going, daybreak significant. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of reflection and release from tension. It emphasizes that analyzing and understanding things in order to be delivered from compulsion is the adequate way to handle it. Wu. Relief indicates advantage in the southwest. If he undertakes to do something without a cause, it will be auspicious for him to return to his former station. If he undertakes to do something with a cause, it will be auspicious for him to do it early. The image, leg. Liberation shows a thunderstorm clearing the atmosphere. The superior man, in accordance with this, forgives errors and deals gently with crimes. Wilhelm/Baines, thunder and rain set in, the image of deliverance. Thus the superior man pardons mistakes and forgives misdeeds. Blowfold. This hexagram symbolizes thunder and rain, bringing release. The superior man tends to forgive wrongs and deals leniently with crimes. The component trigrams suggest that a certain amount of forceful action is required. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Liberation shows the trigram of movement above the trigram of danger. Through movement, there is an escape from peril. An early movement to the southwest wins the allegiance of the masses and returns the state to normalcy and equilibrium. When heaven and earth are freed from the grasp of winter, we have thunder and rain. When these come, the buds of the fruit-producing vegetation begin to open. Great indeed are the phenomena in the time of liberation. Leg. The written Chinese character for liberation is the symbol of unloosing, untying a knot, or unraveling a complication. This hexagram denotes a condition in which the obstruction and difficulty of the preceding figure have been removed. The lesson is how this new and better state of the kingdom should be dealt with. If no tasks remain to be completed, the sooner things resume their normal course, the better. If further operations are necessary, let them be accomplished without delay. The Konghasi editors say that moving to the south and west is the same as returning to normality. Thunder and rain clear the atmosphere, and a feeling of oppression is relieved. The images of springtime in the Confucian commentary refer to the gentle policy of a conquering ruler who forgives the opposition of those who cease to offer resistance. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Do what obviously needs to be done and return to stability as soon as possible. The superior man forgives, forgets, and bears no grudges, i.e., stability is more important than fixing blame or haggling over who is right. If the 39th hexagram of impasse is turned upside down, it becomes the 40th hexagram of liberation or deliverance. The two figures represent opposite situations. If impasse creates tension, then liberation releases it. The upper trigram of movement ascends to escape from the lower trigram of danger, giving us an unambiguous image of freedom and relief. A quote from H. Jonas in The Gnostic Religion. Apart from all personification, the whole of space in which life finds itself has a malevolently spiritual character, and the demons themselves are as much spatial realms as they are persons. To overcome them is the same thing as to pass through them, and in breaking through their boundaries, this passage at the same time breaks their power and achieves the liberation from the magic of their sphere. Leg's commentary in the preceding hexagram explains that the southwest is the direction of earth, the fertile lowland where life is natural and uncontrived. Confucius tells us here that an early move in this direction will win the allegiance of the masses. Psychologically interpreted, this refers to the inner kingdom of the psyche, where the masses are the drives, emotions, and archetypal complexes which make up our being. The symbolism suggests a conscious freeing up of inner tension. A quote from Roberto Asciagoli in Psychosynthesis. These forces, therefore, must not be left to run wild, but should be disposed of in harmless ways, or, better still, used for constructive purposes. Creative activities of various kinds, the rebuilding of our personality, contributing to our psychosynthesis. Going back to our primary hexagram 5, we'll be reading changing lines 1, 3, 4, and 5, which each have their own specific contexts. Changing line 1 has the context inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Changing line 3, an emerging identity, facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. Line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. And line 5, strength and self-determination, clear vision, being in command. Our changing lines are the most focused part of our reading. They put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements. Changing line 1 in hexagram 5, waiting. Leg, the first line dynamic shows its subject waiting on the distant border. It will be well for him to constantly maintain the purpose thus shown, in which case there will be no error. Wu, he is waiting in the countryside. It will be advantageous for him to be persistent and thus free from blame. Commentary. Confucius/Leg, he makes no movement to encounter rashly the difficulties of the situation. There will be no error if he constantly maintains his purpose. He will not fail to pursue that regular course. Wilhelm/Baines, one does not seek out difficulties over hastily. One has not abandoned the general ground. Blofeld, not rushing forward to undertake what is difficult to perform, doing nothing out of the ordinary. Ritzema/Karcher, not opposing heavy moving indeed, not yet letting go rules indeed. Cleary too. One has not entered into difficult actions, one has not yet lost normalcy. Wu, not to proceed toward danger, not to deviate from normal course. Leg, the border means the frontier of the state. Line 1 appears at work in his distant fields, not thinking of anything but his daily work, and he is advised to abide in that state of mind. The regular course is the determination to maintain a distance from danger and wait for the proper time to act. Notes and paraphrases, Su. At the outset, there is a suggestion of danger. The man remains calm, concerns himself only with the immediate task at hand, and does not move to counteract remote threats. Wing, do not become agitated by your sense of an impending problem. Live your life as normally as possible and do nothing out of the ordinary. If there is a problem, it exists in the future. Acknowledging it now could diminish your strength. Editor, a border is any threshold or boundary, such as the threshold between the conscious and unconscious minds. As yet, the danger has not crossed this line, and we are advised not to go forth to meet it. Neither should we abandon our position, but just quietly allow the situation to unfold and define itself. A quote from Marcus Aurelius, let not future things disturb thee, for thou wilt come to them. If it shall be necessary, having with thee the same reason which now thou usest for present things. James Dekorne breaks changing line 1 down into 2 possible succinct definitions, A and B. A, sit tight and allow the situation to unfold. And B, let sleeping dogs lie. Changing line 3. All of these may not agree with one another or have the exact same things to say, obviously, which, if they're at odds especially, we should just mull over that ourselves and see what that might mean in our situations. Leg. The third line dynamic shows its subject in the mud, close by the stream. He thereby invites the approach of injury. Blofeld. Inactivity amidst the mud. This permits the approach of evil. This suggests a danger of our being so bogged down that we can neither fight nor flee. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. He is waiting in the mud. The calamity in the upper trigram is close at hand. He invites the approach of injury, but if he is reverent and careful, he will not be worsted. Wilhelm/Baines. The misfortune is outside. Seriousness and caution prevent defeat. Blofeld. Remaining inactive in the midst of mud subjects us to external dangers, but the approaching evil will not harm us if we exercise care. We must not allow the mud to bog us down. Ritzema/Karcher. Calamity located outside indeed. Originating from my involving outlawry. Respectful consideration, not destroying indeed. Cleary 2. Once I have brought on enemies, I am careful not to be defeated. Wu. Inviting harm is a self-inflicted act. With respect and caution, however, he will be free from defeat. Leg. Here the subject is on the brink of the stream. His advance to this position has provoked resistance, which may result in his injury. Notes and paraphrases. Su. The man attempts a complex undertaking without sufficient capacity for success in one try. He finds himself mired in the intricacies, thereby inviting enemies onto the scene. Caution is required. Wing. Because of premature action on your part, inspired perhaps by anxiety, you will leave yourself open to attack. This situation is truly difficult because you are vulnerable. Only extreme caution will protect you. Editor. In its most neutral interpretation, this line is an image of serious vulnerability. An unstable position invites attack. Mud is earth mixed with water. Psychologically, sensation, earth, and emotion, water, unite in a gooey morass of fear or anxiety, which leaves one vulnerable to harm. Since the work proceeds dialectically upward or downward, this position points out the danger of emotional responses. You could lose what you have gained unless you hold firm. Don't surrender to the complex's urging differentiation. Heed the gnosis which counsels integration. A quote from William James. Instinctive reactions and emotional expressions thus shade imperceptibility. Instinctive reactions and emotional expressions thus shade imperceptibly into each other. Every object that excites an instinct excites an emotion as well. James Dekorne breaks changing line 3 down into two possible succinct definitions. A, emotional vulnerability threatens the ego's ability to act effectively. And B, you're on shaky footing, take care. Changing line 4. Leg. The fourth line magnetic shows its subject waiting in the place of blood, but she will get out of the cavern. Lu. Waiting in blood, come out from the pit. Ritzema/Karcher. Tending towards blood, issuing forth originates from the cave. Wu. He is waiting in blood, he exits from the cave. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. She accommodates herself to the circumstances of the time and hearkens to its requirements. Wilhelm/Baines. He is yielding and obeys. Blofeld. To abstain from action amidst deeds of blood is to accord with the principle of allowing things to take their course. Ritzema/Karcher. Yielding uses hearkening indeed. Cleary, 2, means listening receptively. Wu. Waiting in blood calls for obedience. Leg. Line 4 has passed from the lower to the upper trigram and entered the scene of danger and strife, the place of blood. However, she is magnetic and in her correct place, so she withdraws from engagement with the enemy and is thereby enabled to escape from the cavern. Recognition of the circumstances of the time and yielding to its requirements are the lessons here. She acknowledges her inadequacies and takes the prudent step. Notes and paraphrases. Su. The man enters the scene of strife and danger in a life and death struggle. He accommodates himself to fate, stands fast, and refrains from aggravating the problem. Wing. You are waiting in the very center of chaos. Any sort of confrontation with the problems that present themselves will only make things worse. Remove yourself immediately and unobtrusively from the situation. Editor. Psychologically interpreted, this line sometimes implies that during a transitional phase in the dialectical process of individuation, one must avoid any influence that might interfere with that process. Each translator uses a different word for what may be interpreted as an image of the unconscious psyche. Cavern, pit, abyss, cave, and cavity all describe a hidden, dark, dangerous influence in the situation at hand. A quote from Gareth Knight in Kabbalistic Symbolism: "For the ordinary esoteric aspirant, the best approach to the evil within us is, after having recognized and faced it, to starve it, working only upon the development of the good and spiritual qualities. By developing the contact of the spirit, the psyche will eventually be so transformed that there is no room for evil within it. Direct work upon evil forces will tend to set up a polarity and occult link with these forces, and this is one thing which must be sedulously avoided." James Dekorne breaks down changing line 4 into 3 succinct definitions, A, B, and C. A, withdraw from a dangerous position. B, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And C, wait until the situation clarifies. Changing line 5. Leg. The 5th line dynamic shows its subject waiting amidst the appliances of a feast. Through his firmness and correctness, there will be good fortune. Wilhelm/Baines, waiting at meat and drink. Perseverance brings good fortune. Blowfold. Inactivity amidst food and wine. Righteous persistence will bring good fortune. We may safely relax and enjoy ourselves, but we must preserve our determination to act when the time is ripe. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. The good fortune is indicated by his being in the central and correct place. Wilhelm/Baines. Because of the central and correct character. Blowfold. The line is a firm one between 2 yielding lines. Ritzimo/Karcher. Using centering, correcting indeed. Cleary 2. Being centered correctly. Wu. Central and correct. Leg. Line 5 is dynamic in the central and correct place of the ruler. All good qualities therefore belong to him. He has triumphed, and with firmness will continue to triumph. Notes and paraphrases. Su. The man fortifies his reserve strength by enjoying the intervals of peace between crises. At the same time, he maintains his orientation to the ultimate goal with optimistic buoyancy. Wing. Your difficulties are held in abeyance now, and it is a good time to relax and gain perspective on the situation. While you enjoy your respite, keep in mind that there is still much to be done in the attainment of your goals. Editor. This line recalls the image: the superior man eats and drinks, feasts and enjoys himself as if there were nothing else to employ him. If this is the only changing line, the hexagram becomes number 11, harmony, suggesting that one is situated very well indeed. A quote from ZBS Halevi in An Introduction to the Kabbalah. A meditating man may appear at a glance to be doing nothing, but as with Buddha seated under his Bodhi tree, this apparent physical inaction hid the cosmic activity of inner illumination. James Dekorne breaks down changing line 5 into 1 possible succinct definition. A. You are surrounded by nourishing influences. Relax and allow the situation to mature. We'll now read our hexagrams and changing lines from I-ming's Taoist I Ching. which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It's pretty alchemical in nature. Hexagram 5, our primary hexagram, waiting. In waiting, there is sincerity and great development. It is good to be correct. It is beneficial to cross a great river. Explanation. Waiting means there is a waiting. As to the qualities of the hexagram, above is water, a pitfall. Below is heaven, which is sound and strong. Being sound and strong and able to manage in the midst of danger, it is therefore called waiting. This hexagram represents nurturing strength, awaiting the proper time. It follows on the previous hexagram, difficulty. Difficulty is movement and action in danger, restoring the primordial while in the midst of the temporal. Therefore, one travels the path of strength and firmness and takes the true yang fallen in water out, i.e., one takes the primordial out of the conditioned. However, when the yang has been trapped in water for a long time, it is not possible to get out of danger immediately. One must lead it on gradually, waiting for the proper time to gather it. One cannot presume upon one's strength and set about the task impetuously. That would bring on danger. People give rise to yin from the culmination of yang. The yang in the center of heaven runs into the palace of earth, so that earth is filled in and becomes water. The yin in the center of earth enters the palace of heaven, so that heaven is hollowed and becomes fire. At this point, working with false yin and false yang, the strong becomes weak and the submissive becomes stubborn. The intent is not sincere and the mind is not right. Being aggressive, one is not aware of danger and is not receptive enough to notice obstacles. One acts dangerously, hoping for the remote chance of luck, knowing no limits. Now, if you want to get out of danger, it is necessary to know danger. Being able to recognize danger is being able to believe it is dangerous. Once you believe in the danger, you have inner control. Being careful and wary, you refine yourself and wait for the proper time. Every act is confined to its proper place, and one is not damaged by external influences. Therefore, in the path of waiting, there is sincerity and great development, gaining good fortune by being correct. Having sincerity and great development means believing in danger and being able to cope with it. That correctness is good means that by maintaining correctness, you can be free from danger. Once you believe in the danger and keep to what is right, you fend off danger by strength and firmness, and use danger to nurture strength and firmness, awaiting the time to move forward and enter the lair looking for the tiger. Not only are you able to avoid being injured by negative energy, you can also take the true yang fallen into water and return it to the palace of heaven. This is the reason that it is beneficial to cross a great river. A great river is most dangerous. This is the image of water, which is something that fells and traps yang. That danger is most great. Believing in the danger, you cross it correctly. When the time is not yet ripe, you nurture strength, and when the time comes, you advance strength. Advancing it and nourishing it at the proper times is how you can be in danger yet cope with it, and how you can get out of danger. That strength is beneficial wherever it goes. Oh, wait. Our supporting hexagram 40 puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. I-ming calls it liberation or solution. For liberation, the southwest is beneficial. When going nowhere, the return brings good fortune. When going somewhere, promptness brings good fortune. Explanation. Liberation means freeing. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is thunder, active, and below is water, dangerous. When positive energy moves out of danger, action beyond danger moves according to the will, so it is called liberation. This hexagram represents taking advantage of the right time to gather the medicine. It follows on the previous hexagram, disharmony. Disharmony means yin and yang are not in harmony. Delight and attention are not appropriate. Negative energy is in charge of affairs, while positive energy is trapped. So this work of liberating the positive energy is essential. Liberating the positive energy is gathering the medicine. In gathering the medicine, it is important to know the right time. Otherwise, you will fumble, and negative energy will remain while positive energy will again slip away. Then, even though the medicine be nearby, you cannot avail yourself of it. Understanding reality says, when lead meets winter, hasten to gather it. After the full moon, metal is worthless. When the first yang is born on the ground of earth, thereby producing thunder, the primordial energy comes from within nothingness, and the heart of heaven and earth turns. This is what is called finding companionship in the southwest. Just when lead meets winter and the great medicine appears, when the mind of Tao becomes active and the human mind is still. This spontaneous liberation is the portent of good fortune. Therefore, for liberation, the southwest is beneficial. When going nowhere, the return brings good fortune. Returning without going anywhere does not come about by human effort. It appears spontaneously at a given time and comes from nature. But once nature's time has arrived, human exertion is necessary. One should hasten to set about fostering positive energy and suppressing negative energy. When the celestial and the human act together, one uses the return of this one bit of positive energy to go back to where there is pure positivity without negativity. So the mind of Tao is always present and the human mentality is forever extinguished. Only then is one liberated from danger and difficulty and able to act freely in any way, just as one wills. This is why, when going somewhere, promptness brings good fortune. If one is prompt, when the medicinal energy has just arisen, it belongs to the primordial. If one is tardy, once the medicinal energy has passed, it belongs to the temporal. If you promptly gather the medicinal energy when it has just arisen, then the primordial is stable and you gain good fortune. If you gather it only when the medicinal energy has passed, then temporal conditioning will reassert itself and you will be unfortunate. There is profound meaning in the words, promptness brings good fortune. There is that which requires promptness. That is to say, when you reach the point where the first yang has just become active, you should advance the fire without delay. We'll read our changing lines of our primary hexagram 5, which each have their own general context. Changing line 1, inklings just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Changing line 3, an emerging identity facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. Changing line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. And changing line 5, strength and self-determination, clear vision, being in command. Our changing lines put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They're the most focused part of the reading. They take precedence over all other elements. They may not agree with one another, but if that's the case, we're to wrestle with that on our own and see what that could possibly mean for us. Changing line 1 of our primary hexagram 5, waiting. Waiting on the outskirts, it is beneficial to employ constancy, then there is no fault. Explanation, being strong and firm yet humble, having strength but not using it. Being in the world yet able to leave the world, unaffected by fame and profit, is like waiting in the outskirts. However, Strong people with a lot of talent and ability usually don't like to be below others. It may happen that there is the fault of not being steadfast in waiting. So here, it is beneficial to employ constancy. For only then can one bring to a conclusion what one has started. And there is not the fault of changing halfway along. This is firm and steadfast waiting. Changing line 3. Waiting in the mud, bringing on enemies. Explanation. When adamant strength rushes ahead, unable to wait for the proper time, eager for achievement, though one originally wanted to go ahead, one suffers a fall behind. This is likened to waiting in the mud. The strength waiting in mud calls danger on itself where there is no danger. Bringing on enemies, it should be resolved. This is waiting that is firm but unaware of danger. Changing line 4, waiting in blood, leaving the cave. Explanation. Being weak and helpless, by nature in danger, is likened to waiting in blood. Also, when the quality of yielding is in a position of weakness, in a realm of darkness, and one is unable to get out on one's own, it is like being in a cave. Lucky is the quality of yielding that keeps to what is right, following the virtues because of having no virtue oneself, following the virtuous because of having no virtue oneself, depending on others to save oneself. Then it is possible to get out of the cave and ultimately not be injured by negative energy. This is waiting that is yielding and follows firmness. And changing line 5. Waiting with waiting with food and wine. It is good to be correct. Explanation. Positive firmness correctly balanced, one has inner control and uses the artificial to cultivate the real. Though there is danger, it is as if there were no danger. This is like waiting with food and wine. Food and wine are things that soothe the mind and fill the belly. Enjoying the path, one forgets about age. Sometimes there is danger, but the path is not dangerous. Outwardly there is danger, but inwardly it is not dangerous. By correctness, everything turns out well. This is waiting that is firm and remains correct. We'll also read from the commentary section in the back for each of our hexagrams, keeping in mind that they don't talk about changing lines, but they still are quite helpful. Waiting. Water above, heaven below. Clouds rise to heaven, waiting. The superior person makes merry with food and drink. Waiting means there is something awaited. Above is water, below is heaven. Water vapor rises from earth to sky, where it condenses into clouds. When clouds form in the sky, rain may be expected. This is the image of waiting. What superior people see in this is that when people are unable to attain the universal Tao, it is because they are temperamental and unbalanced in action, because the earthly and the celestial are not in harmony. Therefore, superior people eat and drink to nourish the earthly, causing the earthly to balance the celestial. They make merry to attune the celestial, causing the celestial to join the earthly. When the earthly and the celestial are in mutual harmony, living energy is stored within, producing being from within non-being, spontaneously without forced effort. This happens because the sweet rain of life falls naturally through the coalescing of the energies of heaven and earth. The sprouts of living potential grow when the energies of yin and yang commune. Here, food and drink refers to nurturing the body so that the body is sound. Making merry refers to nurturing the mind so the mind is unburdened. When body and mind are nurtured, the restorative elixir is easy to crystallize. Herein lies what is known as refining the self and awaiting the proper time. In our supporting hexagram 40, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Dissolution. Thunder above, water below. Thunder and rain act, dissolving. Thus do superior people forgive faults and pardon crimes. Dissolution means shedding, dispersing. Above is thunder, below is water. Thunder rolls, rain falls. Thunder and rain both act, and the celestial and earthly energies commune. This is the image of dissolution. What superior people see in this is that when the force of mundanity is congealed and stagnant, practitioners of the Tao should use intense effort to burn it away. Then, when the celestial energy has returned, they should use gentle effort to nurture it. Each phase has its proper time, which does not allow deviation or delay. Therefore, after the force of mundanity has been dissolved, they forgive faults and pardon crimes, going along naturally to cause it to evaporate and disappear of itself, not allowing any force. People have faults and commit crimes because of obeying acquired conditioning, which obscures the primal. Indulging emotions and giving free rein to cravings, they will go to any lengths. This is why there needs to be effort to attain self-mastery and self-control. Mastery and control means correcting faults and eliminating misdeeds, using energy to transform the temperament. When the temperament has been sublimated, the primordial comes back. With the mind of Tao always present, the human mentality does not arise. Once faults and wrongdoings are eliminated, there's no more need to work on mastery and control. To forgive means to forgive past faults. To pardon means to pardon past deeds. Forgiving and pardoning, sane energy grows strong and aberrant energy spontaneously disappears. The real remains and the false does not come. Otherwise, if one does not know when to stop at sufficiency and still keeps thinking about misdeeds and faults, after all this is doing things with the human mentality, which again calls on faults and errors after they had been eliminated. What had been dissolved now does not dissolve. The danger of mundanity still remains, and celestial energy is not pure. This is what is meant by the saying, to try to eliminate errant thoughts doubles the affliction. To aim for reality as it is also is a mistake. We will now read a randomly card-drawn chapter from the Tao Te Ching. It's going to take it 4. This translation is by Jia Fu Feng and Jane English. The Tao is an empty vessel. It is used but never filled. O unfathomable source of 10,000 things, blunt the sharpness, untangle the knot, soften the glare, merge with dust. O hidden deep but ever present, I do not know from whence it comes. It is the forefather of the emperors.